Something that has nothing to do with consumers, has everything to do with medicine. This past week, at the New York Times front page article was a major study in our biggest journal about this little clip. Now, this clip allows people with heart failure, if you have a shortness of breath, you get all swollen, it helps us help those people. And there's millions of them around the country. You have relatives who have heart failure. Now, but the reason I'm showing you this is I invented this 20 years ago. But the reason I mention that is that's how long it took for I thought a pretty good idea to go from being patented, to the company getting it, to a university supporting it, to hospitals, between Columbia University and New York Presbyterian Hospital and the doctors all over the country. It took a while. That's how long it takes for good ideas to become widely dispersed. And in this case, we had a big company called Abbott fund it, huge trial, published in our biggest journal called the New England Journal of Medicine, to prove you could have the chance of dying from heart failure if you had a leaky mitral valve, and we can reduce the chance of going to the hospital by that as well. So big numbers, but it took a while. So I'm going to talk to you about general concepts about health. It takes a while for them to become mainstream, right? Because it took 20 years for this device to become popular and now approved by the governments and everyone else to see that it works. Imagine things like whether you take a vitamin, what kind of food you eat, or what's the role of stress in your life. It takes a while. So be patient, be confident, do what works for you, test it, don't believe everything you hear, test it on yourself. If it makes sense, you keep doing it and spread the wisdom. That's the game plan here. That's how we changed our American medical system for the better. This device is a great example of how the system works when it's working well, and it still took 2 decades. So we gotta be patient. All right, take a listen to this. You can turn the audio up, please. This is the morning regimen for everybody. All the things to do. Have tea. And surfing. Smoothie. Brush your teeth. Exercise. And as you do these things, keep track of them. Automate. You gotta clean the house. Go to work. Walk if you can. And at every point, you gotta report and go, check. Eat nuts, don't forget nuts. Little yoga, little water, clean the house again, watch the show. Spices are a great way to go. Have fun, nothing's more valuable than having fun. Gargle, and you gotta sleep. That's the basic regimen. Now, I should point out that you all deserve to have your own regimen. This happens to be on the Dr. Ross app, but it's super simple. Pick things that work for you. I try to bring these things alive to you on the show, and for the many folks who come to the show, God bless you all. You're all welcome to the show. We tape at the ABC studios at 65th in the West End, 66th in the West End. Come, tickets are free. Bring your family. I love having audiences that are big and robust and loud and beautiful like you all are. If you don't have time to come down to the studio, we have a podcast. Please just check it out once. We've got a really cool podcast from Jordan Peterson that I just dropped this week that's very popular. Go on there, rate it as well. Let people know what you think about it. We try to get things out on the website, on social media. Obviously, those pictures I just took of you, we'll post them. And we got a picture at every show with all the audience, same place. Just follow along and spread the wisdom. It really isn't about me telling it to you. It's about you hearing it and telling it to your friends. That's how we get people to change. Because people will listen to you because they're friends more than anybody else. Let's talk about beauty. Now, I don't know about you, but I always think the bottom of a baby is just pinchable. This one is pinch that thing. Sorry. An elephant's hind side is what most of us think of ourselves. And I want to change your mind about that. I'm going to show you a picture of me, but not the usual one. It's a picture of my face, where I took my right face and doubled it, and my left face and doubled it. Just to show you how asymmetrical I am. Are you ready? That's me. Mr. Imperfection, right? Left side doubled, right side doubled. It's still my face. But you see how much I differ from my right to my left side. You're all the same. And you know what? That's okay. We're not supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to be a little bit different from each other. And we actually perceive things differently. I don't know if you know this, but 50% of how we perceive something is genetic. Literally, you're fighting with your family, and they are seeing the world differently than you. They're not wrong. They literally are seeing it different from you. So you got to be a little more Not just tolerating, but embracing. You want people thinking things differently than you. It's better for all of us. That's how we don't make dumb mistakes, because people disagree with us. But too often, I think we're fighting with each other and disliking each other. And that doesn't make anybody feel better, because you feel like this after a while, like Jabba the Hutt. Right? So I don't want anyone to feel that way, because we're all, at our core, worthy, and all of us are as beautiful as that baby's little hindsight. So I did a big survey. I asked, what are the mental health issues here? What are we stressed out about? Well, first of all, 57% of us report we are often stressed out. Our satisfaction score in life, 6.7. That's a D. Right? 67 out of 100 is a D. In school, we're better than a D as a population. But I'm going to flip it on its head. Here's the real question. Why aren't we all anxious? Why aren't we all depressed? How come everyone in here is not addicted to something? Life's hard. The fact of the matter is, it's all about how we manage complexity. Complexity management is different from being depressed or anxious. It's the fact that we have a lot to do. It's hard to do what you want to do in life. And managing all that complexity can get you down. That's why when you talk to psychiatrists and psychologists, they'll tell you that if you're really depressed, giving you medications is helpful. But if you're just having problem managing life and its complexity, giving you antidepressants doesn't help you. And that explains why sometimes you need help and sometimes you want to do it on your own. And telling the difference is hard. That's why we talk about it on the show. But amongst us, let's just be clear about this. Until you deal with complexity, you don't even know. But if you're dealing with complexity, if you figured out a couple hacks to get through it, which is what I want to talk about today, then all of a sudden it all becomes a little bit easier. So we have tools. You ought to get this one on your phone. It's free. Oprah and I started this company when the show started 10 years ago. And thank you very much for letting me be on the air for 10 years. Woo! The opportunity to come into your homes every single day and visit with you. But this is called the ShareCare app. It's a tool that's 20 million plus people are using right now. Download it. It gives you ways of diagnosing what's wrong with you. It gives you discount prices on all your medications. And it has many, many tools to help you live your life better today. Keep track of what's going on, because it gives you all your information in one spot. And when Oprah and I created it, we knew that the world was becoming digital and that everything like banking and television and media was all becoming digital. But health hasn't, and it will. And it's better if you control your health. So I want you owning it. Use the tools that are out there, the technologies that are coming to you, and make sure they don't charge you much. But especially if it's free, take advantage of it and test it, use it, iterate. You all have phones. Make them work for you. They're the best health coach you'll ever have. Now I want to challenge you on something. You all know the Harry Potter stories, right?
Yes.
All right, so Harry Potter is an interesting story for me because everyone is in a story. And if you don't know what story you're in, that's a problem. And you definitely don't want to be in someone else's story because you'll be a big player in someone else's story. You want to be in your story. You want to be the hero of your tale. And you have to spend a little time figuring out what your story is. But I want to challenge you on how you divide good and evil. Because a lot of us have been taught that the dividing line between good and evil is between my tribe and their tribe. My people and their people. The real dividing line, it goes through every human heart. All of us have the ability to be good and the ability to be bad. Part of the reason we're doing these true crime shows is I use science to help people feel better. And science also helps me to help people who've been hurt by other people. And science also helps me solve crimes because forensics, CSI, is so much a part of how we solve crimes. We've been looking at even genetic testing. I can take cold cases from 30 years ago, and these great scientists can say, you know what, whoever did that crime, that heinous thing 30 years ago, they're related to these three people. Well, who are you related to? Who are all three of you related to? I can figure out who did the crime. So we have technology. But the real reason I do it isn't any of that. The real reason I do it is it reminds us that there's evil potential in us. What makes you really powerful is that you don't use it. You ever read in the Bible where it says the meek shall inherit the earth? Mm-hmm. Like, I always got a little confused by that because I kept thinking, why would God say the meek? Like the weak get the earth. Why do they get it? I mean, don't they want to earn it? Don't you want to fight for what you get in life? And then someone very wise, this guy that I have the podcast this week with, he's on the show Thursday, Jordan Peterson. And what he said to me was interesting. He said, if you look back at what meek means, it doesn't mean weak. Meek literally, apparently means you have a sword in a sheath, but you're not using it. You have the ability to fight, you choose not to fight. You have the power, you decide not to use it to hurt people. That's what meek really means. So when you realize that, then you all of a sudden stand up and be emboldened and think, you know what, I'm electing not to hurt people. I have that ability. We're all sitting in a room together, right? Now no one's fighting anybody. That's because you all have remarkable power to control that power. And that's a good thing. And we don't often respect that in us, and therefore we don't realize that the real goal in life is to make us a little better every day. The real person you're competing with is not the person that crossed the auditorium. The person you're competing with is you 5 years from now. Are you going to be a better person or not? That's the real challenge. Now, let me give you a little challenge here in that part. After we're done with this conversation, I want you to text or walk up to people you know here and just ask them in one word to describe why they like you. Now, they have to like you. But that one word they give you, you'll figure out there's sort of a category you fit into. So I think I'm a funny person. But when I ask my friends why they like me, no one says it's because I'm funny. You know, I actually was with my kids the other day and I was fooling around telling these jokes, writing a book about it. I was having the best time, and I asked my middle daughter, because they didn't seem too impressed. You know, daughters can be tough on their dads. And I asked my middle daughter, "Honey, do you think that's going to be a funny book?" And she sat there to finish the next bite of food, and she said, "You know, Dad, I think the book will be really funny if a funny person wrote it." When I was given this task by the Oprah producers, which I did the last time I was on her show, which was 11 years ago, I asked around, everyone told me the same word, passion. See, I have lots of things that I'm proud of, things I'm not proud of about myself, but the people who like me say they like me mostly because of my passion, because I care, because it matters to me. I may not be the smartest or the brightest or the quickest or the cleverest or the funniest, but I care. You guys have a word that will describe you. Figure out what that word is and be that person. That's the best version of who you are. Trust your friends to tell you the truth. And whatever that word is, live up to that word. Every day when I get on the show, I try to be passionate. You know, whatever the topic is. And sometimes you require passion in different ways, but I know how to tap into that now. Speaking of passion, I'm passionate about 5 basic life adjustments. That ShareCare app that I mentioned to you, the first thing you'll do is take a real age test. It's a quiz that will help you figure out how old your body thinks you are, which is more accurate than your birth date, actually. And how old your body thinks you are, your real age, is very important because it'll predict how well and how long you'll live. It is determined by 5 major issues. Those issues include your blood pressure, #1 cause, exercise daily, right? Don't have to break a sweat. You just got to go out there and walk fast enough to get a little breathy, right? Healthy diet that you love. Do not eat health food. I'll just say it again. Do not eat food that's healthy. Do you know why? Because you are going to think it tastes like cardboard because it's healthy. And then you're going to be asking yourself, will I live longer or is it just going to seem like it? Right? Who wants to eat cardboard every day? Instead, eat food you love, that you adore, that happens to be healthy. That's how you do it. And if you do that, I don't care what community you're from, you're going to find foods that are healthy in your community that you love, that you grew up with. Eat that food. You don't all have to have a Mediterranean diet. You know, you can have anything you like that's healthy as long as you adore it, because you'll do it every day. You need stress issues to be addressed, and without that, you can't deal with your sleep, which is the biggest underappreciated problem in America. And you got to curtail addictive behavior, which can come in many forms. It's not just crack cocaine. It can come in forms that are sneaky. For example, I am a big advocate for medical marijuana. I think it's the height of hypocrisy that we don't give people a chance to get treated by doctors with what they need. However, I'm not a big fan of recreational marijuana, and here's why. I don't want 17, 18, 19-year-old kids whose brains aren't mature yet thinking they have to rely on something outside their bodies to cope with life. Mm-hmm. They got to learn to cope with it themselves first. If you're 35 and smoking pot, different issue for me. But young people, they got to be aware of that stuff. All right, so let's go over this issue. First of all, conventional diets. You know what? How many of you can hold your breath indefinitely underwater? Hands up. Not indefinite. Oh, not indefinite. Of course not. She says, I can't, but not indefinitely. Well, that's the point. I know you can all hold your breath, but you can't do it indefinitely. Here's the catch. You have 2 major systems that force you to breathe when you hold your breath. You've got a dozen systems that make you eat when you're hungry. So guess what? You can't will yourself to lose weight. It can't be done. But what you can do is nudge the biology of blubber in the right direction. You can do things that naturally make it easier for people to lose weight. And those are the things that I rely on the most. For example, spicy food works. Spicy food actually works. I wouldn't put it in baby sauce, but it actually works pretty well, right? And it turns out nuts are the best food, I think, to lose weight. Woo! What are you talking about, nuts? Nuts are fat. They are fat. But in every study ever done, people who eat nuts lose weight. And there's two reasons. The first reason is nuts are baby trees. They got all the nutrients of a tree. So they're going to give you what your brain wants, which are nutrients. Not calories, nutrients. When you eat stuff that doesn't have nutrients in it, your body says, "Oh, that tasted good," and it feels okay. But your brain says, "Wait a minute, you gave me calories, but you didn't give me any nutrients. Go back and eat some more." Right? That's especially true for things like soda pop, which I'll get to. But the other benefit of nuts is that you get a discount on your nuts. Think about this. When you eat a nut, you don't chew it all the way. Your body doesn't absorb all the calories. So you actually only absorb 85% of the calories. Now think about that, 2,000 calories a day. If you're only absorbing 85%, you're only really getting 1,700 calories a day. So you're on a diet. If you're cutting 300 calories off what you normally eat, that's called being on a diet. So without realizing it, you just went on a diet by eating nuts. That's what I like. It automates, it makes it easy. It's not hard for you to do that. Now personally, I like to soak my nuts, which you can take in any way you want. But I take those hard nuts like the almonds and put them in water and let them swell with water. And those nuts, as they swell, become chewier. And I happen to like them that way. They also, I think, probably germinate a little bit. Nuts will fall into soil, get wet, and they'll germinate. So you can eat them I don't care if you roast them even though raw is better. But just make sure they're good, fresh nuts and make them part of your diet and never leave home without carrying a couple nuts in your pocket. Seriously. Get your mind out of the gutter, you guys. Get this whole heckling group of people trying to have a serious discussion. All right, now.
So you're a sugar addict. Isn't everyone? It's not like we're eating that much sugar, right? Wrong. Let's break it down. The average American consumes 142 pounds of sugar a year. That's right, pounds. That's 1,463 bottles of soda. Not a soda fanatic? Well, try 5,855 cookies. That's 16 cookies a day. Who eats 16 cookies a day? Or for that matter, 1,894 cups of chocolate ice cream. Think of it this way. You're eating the equivalent of Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars made of sugar. You know that can't be good for you. So how do you stop craving so much sugar? I've got a plan. And oh yeah, it takes just 14 days. So let's get started.
So, why do I bring that up there? Because this sneaks up on you. Soda pop, right? Sugar. And the problem with soda pop is that when you try to go to diet soda to cut out the sugar, which is a good step to begin with, you don't actually lose weight. Because it's called diet soda, but it doesn't help you diet. Why? Because the artificial sweeteners get in there, your tongue tastes it, but your brain's too smart. Says, wait a minute, you tasted sweet, but you didn't actually get any calories. So go back out there and forage and find some sugar for me. Because you told me I was getting sugar when you tasted that. And that's why we believe people on diet sodas tend to have problems. The other thing that it does, it messes with this, the microbiome. How many of you have heard of the microbiome? Good, about a third of the group. Let's just go through this. So much of your health and how you feel, the pains and the aches and the sleep and even the anxiety is driven by the bacteria in your gut. There are 10 times more bacteria than cells in your body. You're mostly not you. You don't even digest your own food. The bacteria digest your food. So if you have the wrong bacteria in your gut, your body isn't going to be able to absorb what it needs to absorb. When you take bacteria from thin and heavy people, they're different. One of the solutions to obesity might include changing bacteria. Hard to do, because you got to take someone's poop and put it in you. But the easier thing to do is to give yourself the nutrients to feed the right bacteria. If you eat healthy food, your bacteria changes and becomes more diverse, right? Which is always a good thing. You want a lot of diversity in your gut. If you eat all the same junk food all the time, your bacteria becomes all the same kind. You don't want that. It's dangerous to have only one kind of bacteria in your gut. So with this kind of a data set, and since we understand that it's probably the unified theory of disease, if you've got any of these problems, leaky gut, which you know about because you get swollen, edematous, and tired, any autoimmune problems, allergies that you didn't have before, asthma, diabetes, obesity, heart disease. These are all huge problems in America. Even if you have ulcers, H. pylori, you have to question whether your gut bacteria is part of the problem. And if it is, that's good news, because you control that. What you eat literally today can affect that. It makes a difference. In addition, there are things that you need to control that only you have the ability to control. Sleep is a good example. Sleep is so central to our health that it causes problems we never thought were linked. Drug-resistant high blood pressure. We know populations have different kinds of blood pressure. African Americans have salt-sensitive blood pressure. Do you know why that is?
Yeah.
Okay, there's this thing called the middle voyage. Right? When the slave ships came across the Atlantic, a lot of the slaves who were people who were taken hostage, made into slaves, died because they couldn't hold on to salt. People who could survive the inhumane voyage held on to salt, which is great because you lived. But in the modern world, when you're given a lot of salt in the processed foods you eat, and you're genetically are predisposed to holding on to salt, that causes a problem. Right? So that's why salt sensitivity is so common in African Americans. In white folks, you have different kinds of high blood pressure issues. But both populations and Latinos are affected by sleep apnea. Because when you can't sleep at night, your body is jittery. It's at high alert. So your blood pressure goes up because you're in a fight situation. And when you realize that, you begin to appreciate the power of sleep. How about heart failure? That thing I talked about earlier with that clip that I invented, right? Heart failure is millions of people. Some of it's caused by the fact that you can't sleep at night. Your heart wears out over time. Coronary disease, blockage in your arteries, atrial fibrillation, your heart rhythms get messed up. It begins to titter like this, like a bag of worms instead of pounding the blood like it's supposed to. Even cancer, right? These are major concerns for a lot of us for good reason. When we realize sleep is a cause of that, we can change that. In fact, you can actually measure your sleep. There's a free app. This is another company we started called Sleep Score. It's free. We've had millions of people download these things. We do lots of giveaways. I'm trying to get folks to focus on their sleep because you know you can fix it if you do. If you understand how to sleep better, then and you measure yourself and you know how to improve it, because there are lots of tools that will work and some that won't, you'll all of a sudden be empowered. And there's lots of things that can affect it. As an example, caffeine, for most people, is not that big a deal. But if you can avoid coffee after the mid-afternoon, it's probably wise. Alcohol messes with your sleep if you drink it too late. So if you're going to drink alcohol, finish drinking by 8 o'clock, so you have a couple hours to get it out of your system. Otherwise, you fall asleep, but it's not a good quality sleep. Exercise is the single best thing you can do for your sleep. Exercise. And any time of day you do it, although morning's better. And sleeping pills will get you about 9 minutes of extra sleep. Really, on average, 9 minutes. So they help some people a lot. They help a lot of people not much. So don't rely on those things. You control it. And especially something like ruminations, where you just are worried about stuff. That's a big reason people don't sleep. Write it down what's bothering you. Just write it down. Get it out of your mind before you fall asleep. Then put it aside because you can't fix it while you're asleep, and go to bed. And these are tactics that work. And other things have to do with sleep hygiene, like turning the lights off at night. You need 20 minutes without light. If you're binge watching television, that light is keeping you awake. You got to turn it off 20 minutes before bedtime to let your brain make melatonin so you fall asleep. You need loose pajamas or no pajamas at all. It's even better. There we go. That frees you to do other things too. By the way, your brain craves 4 things. The guy's getting excited now. The brain craves 4 things. It craves food, water, sex, and sleep. Okay? Now, if you don't sleep, right? You got to either get more sex, that's okay, or you got to eat more. And that's what happens, especially shift workers, people who don't sleep well, they get up and they're hungry. And you don't just crave broccoli, you crave carbohydrates, cookies, sugar, donuts. That's what you want. Ambient noise, especially in the city, is a huge issue. Get a sound machine or find some way of drowning out the sound, because you will not sleep well. I look at these sleep scores, again, we have millions of data points. When people are hearing ambient noise like ambulances and honking horns in the city, it messes your sleep up. You don't know it, but it does. And finally, the melatonin that I mentioned gets turned down when you have the dark lights and all. If you can't get all that done right, have some tart cherry juice. It actually has some melatonin, but you got to take it a couple hours before bedtime. So take it like at 8 o'clock at night after dinner, little soda pop with it, not soda pop, sparkling water with it, so it tastes like soda pop. And then a couple hours later, the melatonin will get into your brain and make you tired. One charity issue, we created this foundation, Health Corps, 15 years ago in New York City. Now we're all over the country. And I pointed out to say we've touched the lives of millions of young people, millions. But the way we do it is the same way we're going to touch your life. You need to know what to eat, and you need to love it. You need to know how to get more fitness, to get firm and strong, right? And that includes how to make sure you burn your calories better. But at the end of the day, it's all about mental resilience. Because here's the deal. If you can control what's happening inside your body, you can change the world outside of it. That's really the goal here. The reason you should care about your bodies is so you're empowered to change the people around you for the better. That's our goal, right? To be a little better ourselves every day so we can pass it on to other people in our lives. So lead by example. And you have the power by the very fact that you're here. So, what's the goal? First off, you gotta make mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? When I'm driving along and I miss a turn, what does the GPS tell me? Right? The next time you can, make a U-turn. Don't worry about schmuck. Don't worry about that, right? But in life, we don't do that. We pull over to the side of the road and bang our head against the window, right? It's okay. We're going to make mistakes. That's the whole point of being around with other people. The safety net of humanity has been there for us and still is there for us. And there's a great commercial I saw the other day of these two people going up an escalator. And they're about halfway up the top, and all of a sudden, the escalator jams. And they look at each other, and they look around if anyone's there, and then they both turn and say, "Help! Help! Help us! Is no one there?" Right? And then it sort of fast forwards an hour later, and they're sitting on the escalator, right? Waiting for help, angry. The guy says, "How can this happen to me? How can no one help me?" Right? And then the elevator repair person comes around, they jump up for joy because their Messiah has come. The guy gets to the first step of the escalator and doesn't move, he's stuck there too. And you're sitting there wondering what is going on here, and you realize it's a metaphor for our lives. A lot of us are stuck in an escalator, right? We could walk to the top of the escalator, right? We could do it. But it's sort of nice to sit there and moan and groan about the fact that we're not at the top of the escalator didn't work for us, the repairman can't help us. I get all that. The escalator's supposed to work, the repair guy's supposed to fix it, I get that. But you got another person there with you. Get up and move up the escalator until someone's going to get there for you. Don't be reliant on people you don't have to rely on. If you give people a chance to surprise you, they always will, in a good way. But we can do a lot of this. And when you're at the top, put your hand out, help people, right? They don't want to hand out, they want to hand up. Just give them a hand up because you know how to do it because you've been there. And if you give your heart a reason to keep beating, it always will. And I leave you with that because to me, that's the most passionate argument I can ever give you for why you should take care of yourself. Because if you value yourself, then you'll realize that people who love you value you, and you'll do what's in your interest and their interest. And that's the main reason we always stay healthy as a species. We can do this. Take a listen. Take a listen. It's a Super Bowl commercial I made this year.
Did you know there's a world of miracles inside our bodies? For example, your eyes can see 10 million shades of color. Sometimes all you need to do is look up. We can hear thousands of sounds, from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Our bodies can withstand temperatures around 60 degrees centigrade. Our tongues can differentiate 100,000 different tastes. Our noses can distinguish more than 1 trillion scents. Knowing each one of them, that's the tough part. Get out there. Explore. See, smell, hear, taste, touch. Widen your world.
I made that commercial because I've always believed we ought to be widening horizons in life. You only do that by challenging each other. So my plea to you is, first off, don't go for the head fake of all the fake ads, right? You all know I don't sell stuff online, I don't sell stuff, period. So if someone says I'm selling a skin cream or weight loss, it's junk. If they're lying about me, they're lying to you about what they're gonna sell you. But not just about me, look at all the fake ads that are out there, all the celebrities being taken advantage of now, and recognize that people are conning you and there's no one out there to protect you but you. And the same goes for things you hear that are just untrue and you're suspicious of. We're only going to be able to fix these problems if we each act in our own behalf and be that stick in the mud that says, no, I don't buy that. There's something wrong there. And then correct that wrong. If we've done that, we can all fix this together. So, I'm out of time, but I want to take 2 questions. So quick questions, put your hand up. Go ahead, and just yell it out. If you're allergic to nuts, what do? Normally, you're not allergic to all nuts. Usually there's a couple nuts that are better than others, and if you can't eat nuts at all, things like peanuts aren't nuts, right? Peanuts are legumes. They're under the ground. They don't grow in trees. You usually can get away with that, or if you're allergic to peanuts, you're not allergic to tree nuts. So, and then finally, if you're completely allergic to all of those, go to beans. Because, edamame, beans like that have the same effect. Okay, shout it out.
So I got a question about water and the different types of water.
Different kinds of water.
Yeah, alkaline water specifically.
Okay.
So there's like,
I got you.
There's information that says that it's good for you, information that says it's bad.
So a question about water in general. First of all, 99.9% of the benefit of water is the water. All right? It's like the wine in alcohol. 90% of the benefit of the alcohol is the alcohol with friends. Right? If you have, right? The wine is a 10% extra. So if you like tequila, drink tequila. Okay? And however, to say that none of them work if you're having alcohol by yourself for breakfast. Right? That's a different problem. Alcohol works because we all drink it together. Water is the same kind of thing in that it's valuable. Having water as your basic substance is essential to us. When people start adding a little vitamin, a little bit of that, a little fat, a little bit of charcoal, that's all mostly gimmickry. I don't think there's a meaningful incremental benefit to you. It's not going to hurt you. If you like to taste more, go do it. Some of those flavored waters that are out there now that are using natural flavors, I think they're fine and actually great to get people to drink more. Alkaline water, I do believe, helps with a specific group of people. Folks that have acid reflux, intestinal problems, I think it can be helpful. But most of what makes you alkaline is the food you eat. Processed foods are acidic generally. Fruits and vegetables generally are alkaline in their effect in your body. So I think that's a good way of keeping it up. I wouldn't spend a ton of extra money buying alkaline water makers, but if you've got those issues and you can afford it, then it's not going to hurt you. Last question.
How do you know your physician is taking the right steps to diagnose you with fibromyalgia?
So, how do you know your physician is taking the right steps to diagnose you? First of all, fibromyalgia, which doctors didn't acknowledge existed 10 years ago, we have a checklist now, 18-point checklist to figure out if you really got the problem or not, and we're still learning about it. So, don't despair if you haven't gotten a firm diagnosis. A lot of people with fibromyalgia have viruses that we don't know about yet. Really small viruses. There's a friend of mine, Ian Lipkin, up at Columbia, on the faculty with me, who just discovered extra small viruses that come with tick bites. So it's not Lyme, which is a bacteria, it's still viruses that come along with it. That we don't even know how to treat them. So that's probably what a lot of people are suffering from. The blood work's not going to be able to diagnose that because there's no blood work available, but just know you're not crazy. Right? But the bigger question that you're asking, if I can address this, how do you know your doctor's right for you? First of all, are they kind to you? Your doctor's your coach and your teacher. The word doctor, doctore, it comes from the Latin word for teacher. If your teacher doesn't like you, or you don't think they like you, you got a problem. So, be respectful of the fact that they're doing their hardest, but you might have to shift. But I'll tell you the best tip of all, write down your questions before you go into the doctor's office. Give them a copy of your questions and you keep your copy. Why? We all went through medical school by doing our homework. When you give them a sheet of questions, they're going to have to do their homework, which is those questions. They might not go through them in the same order as you, but they will quickly go through all those answers and you'll have them. And go in there with your tape recorder. Turn your phone on, record the conversation so you can listen to it again. A good doctor wants you to record what they say. They don't think you're suspicious. They want to know that you respect what they're saying. We know half of what we say gets forgotten by the time you leave the office.
Yes.
If you record it, right, you can listen to it. You can study your notes. You can be a better student. So you actually get more out of the interaction. They have done their homework. They give you your data. Everyone's happy. And go there with a friend if you can to keep track. You can ask extra questions so you're well informed. If they're not willing to give you the time you need, then you can shift gears. I love you guys dearly. God bless you all.